folks. That is a deer.
Dude. Just an absolute monarch of a deer. I just killed the biggest deer in my life, guys. Right here over this crate.
As the deer's approaching your stand, we say the last 50 yards is really where it all comes together or it all falls apart. Clothing should enable you to be at your best and be successful in those last 50 yards. There was not a clothing system out there that was providing that support, that was narrowing that gap, and that was providing a more successful alternative for the bow hunter. And that's where Code of Silence was born. Clothing should be a huge difference maker in the field. It should narrow the gap between success and failure. It should be able to keep you warm. It should be able to keep you absolutely quiet, whether you're walking in, climbing a tree, drawing your bow. It should keep you absolutely concealed. Concealment is probably one of the biggest missing links in clothing. Then it should also be able to, move with you, allow you to store your gear, have access to your gear, and really those kind of 4 pillars that we think of deliverables was really not being met.
No, I think through the years, looking at clothing though, there was always something that had a liability. Whether it was the camo or the thermal efficiency or the silence, there was always a liability. And we felt like we needed to build something that didn't have a liability. It was an asset no matter what. And all those key factors that we consider very important, we wanted to meet them all and meet them perfectly.
Yeah, and it's just, if you look at the other product categories that are, very, critical, I think, for hunting success would be a tree stand, climbing sticks, maybe a rangefinder, now new, technology and applications in your phone. And you look at the advancement in the last 20 years of those technologies and there's just night and day difference. And, things that we didn't even think we needed 20 years ago are now, core essentials.
You're
I
dialed
need
in,
my,
right?
My Onyx app to find my tree stand in the dark. I need my light tree stand I can hang and hunt that's noiseless. I need a rangefinder that's, just point and click at, tenth of a yard accuracy. And you think about clothing, and in the last 20 years, nothing's really changed. It's, there's small gimmicks or there's improvements here and there, but from a true difference maker, it hasn't happened. And that's, as long as camouflage has been around, for example, it should have been better than where it sat before Code of Silence, in our opinion. Been in the hunting clothing industry really the bulk of my career, built an awful lot of clothes, and I worked at Cabela's for over 30 years and was in charge of hunting clothing for most of those 30 years, and super avid hunter, and worn an awful lot of clothes throughout my whole hunting career and whole life. And all the clothing I built said there is not really a go-to. The hunter needed something that was a more holistic solution for the needs they had to be successful in the field.
So there's 3 things that you really want when you want the best clothing that you can be wearing when you're hunting. You want it to be quiet. You want it to fit comfortably so you can move around in it, draw your bow, whatever you're doing, you want it to fit right. And third, you want it to help you disappear. And if you want to throw a 4th one in there, you want something that is going to be for all kinds of weather. Code of Silence covers them all. I'm telling you right now. No noise when you rub against the brush and stuff like that. No noise when you're drawing. You don't get that shh that you get on some of the clothing. The camouflage is designed a different way. I'm not the tech guy to be able to tell you how the material is made, but I can tell you that it absorbs light better than other camo brands that I've worn or other jackets that I've worn. And Nick and I can separate from each other when he's running the camera, and you have a hard time finding each other. So it just does superb. And then last night it poured down rain on us. And I got out of the woods. By the time we got back to camp, my clothes were dry. So if you're looking for all-around, all-purpose hunting clothing, check out Code of Silence. And this isn't a sales gimmick, guys. If you got questions, shoot me the questions. I'll answer it because I believe in this clothing that much.
For us, silence is not a goal. It's an absolute commitment to every design feature, every fabric, every stitch, everything we do has to have a target of absolute dead quietness. So noise is a complex topic, and it's so easy when you're evaluating a garment, particularly in a retail store, and everyone wants to go like this and go, man, that's quiet. And it's like, well, yeah, it probably is, to the touch, but how does it sound against the bark of a tree? How does it sound against itself when you're drawing your bow? But just as important are the internal components. When you're trying to stop water, you're trying to stop wind, or you're trying to create, smooth linings. If you're not really careful, you can tip the scales over to create internal noises, how those internal fabrics rub against one another. And anytime you put a technology on them that's trying to stop the wind, temperature, and how those technologies, internal technologies, react to temperature, because how they react at room temperature like this completely different to how they're going to react when it's, single digits out there for sure. You get colder than that, where you can hear a pin drop at 100 yards is also, huge challenge. And so we spend an awful lot of time not only making the outer shell of our fabrics quiet against themselves, quiet against external components like trees, but also allowing them to interact at all temperatures to remain noiseless.
Everything is quiet when it's 50 degrees out, or even 30 and 40, but when you get into the teens and even lower than that, then things get amplified. And in every component we use in our garments, it's basically, we're aiming to be completely silent, audibly silent, whether it's the outer shell, which is wool-based, or the liner, or the layers in between, our wind barriers and our weatherproofing inside of our garments have to be silent at all temperatures.
The deer doesn't care where the noise comes from, it's just, it's an exception in the woods. And I mean, we've all been around deer, and you have a deer in front of you that, you're probably not gonna shoot, but that deer's head picks up and they've seen something, heard something, hundreds of yards away. And, it's the same context when you're trying to stay undetected yourself, and that level of hearing is where the bar's at. And so anything can get you, whether that's the rattle of a zipper, whether that's a Velcro that's catching on things, whether that's the friction of your outer shell fabric against a tree, whether that's the internal linings rubbing together, or even before you even got into your tree. We call it whisk noise, and the noise that your garment makes, pant legs make against brush when you're walking in, that has created either a good environment or a marginal environment before you've even got to your tree. Not to make it over complex, but it's a complex topic, and you're only as good as your weakest link is true across the board, and we say that a lot, but it's a huge commitment and a huge discipline we have of, how do we make this noiseless? That's really hard. If you don't set that bar that high, you're never gonna get there.
I started using Code of Silence a couple of years ago when I dedicated myself to only traditional bow hunting for an entire fall. And I was looking for something that was going to be extra quiet in the woods, because I knew that in order for me the first year to be able to make a good shot with a traditional bow, I was going to have to get close, and came across Code of Silence, got some in, fell in love with it right away. And I can't believe I was actually able to take a 181-inch giant that year at 20 yards with traditional equipment. And the whole entire time that deer was coming in, to have the confidence in the back of my mind that no matter what I did, no matter how I moved, number one, I was going to be concealed, and number two, I wasn't going to make any noise to spook that deer. Fast forward now to 2024, I get the largest whitetail I've ever had in my life on trail camera, and I knew that I was going to dedicate my season to hunting this deer. Lo and behold, the morning of Halloween, October 31st, I was able to rattle this deer in. He come into a scrape at 18 yards, and once again, guys, the confidence that I had to not only be concealed, but to be silent with the Code of Silence gear, it's just nothing like I've ever had before. I've never had so much confidence in the woods. End up taking the deer over that scrape, a 207-inch giant. And the fact, guys, that the 2 years that I start wearing Code of Silence, 2023 and 2024, I take two of my largest whitetail inside 20 yards, one with a recurve bow and one with a compound. it speaks volumes, guys, for this gear, and it's unbelievable, and I don't think I'll ever wear anything else.
If you want to look like the woods in all ways. Color and pattern matter, but mimicking the light reflectance of the environment you're in is just as important. Our concealment takes concealment to an entirely new level. You know, through the experiences we've had in the woods and, you know, kind of your favorite garments and garments you thought that, you know, were delivering, you know, what you wanted to on the concealment side, and you start looking at the common denominators of those pieces. You know, they were all highly textured, they were all organics, they were all jacquard knit for a lot of cases, and pardon the pun, but the light kind of went off and said, you know, that's definitely where we should lean.
You know, if you're out in nature, bark isn't flat, right? I mean, and a deer's hide isn't flat, it absorbs light. That's why deer can hide in the woods, even though it's solid colored, is because of light reflectance. And that starts on the shell of our garments.
You know, we got excited enough about what we were doing on that front that we started to test them in a laboratory environment, and it was absolutely undeniable that there was a huge deviation from standard fabrics and standard camouflages and standard printing practices in mimicking the light absorbance in the wood. Here's a really good way to think about it, is when you define camouflages, as far as their effectiveness, everybody would put a ghillie suit top of the chart, you know, as far up there as you can get. And then I don't know where you want to put standard camouflages, but let's put them, you know, lower left. And to think there's nothing between the two, that everything that gets you effectiveness from a ghillie suit standpoint, the texture, the organic side, the light absorbance, and that all other camouflages are created equal and you can't narrow that gap. We can narrow that gap. We're not claiming to be ghillie suit level effective, but we're way up on that chart.
You almost feel invisible sometimes in that tree. You know, they
empowered.
And they forgive you. The deer forgive you.
Yeah.
You know, even if you felt like you got noticed, they forgive you. And I've never had that with any other camo before.
Our approach is not easy, and it's not inexpensive. It is, you know, some people say, man, aren't you scared someone's gonna, you know, copy you? And I'm like, knock yourself out, you know, because there's a reason why, you know, people don't go there. And it is a little bit harder, and it is, you know, a little bit limiting in what you're, you know, what the available fabrics are. You just can't jacquard knit everything, but we've found a ways. We were really limited in the early part of what we had available for fabrics, and we were able to make finer knits, you know, take it into lighter fabrics and still have the same light absorbances. And so, to me, after being in the camouflage industry for 40 years and seeing the difference, it's like, how did it not get here faster? Our garment design techniques and unique approach to the use of technologies create the most thermally efficient and warmest garments on the market today. Well, thermal efficiency is, you know, it's a little bit more complex than keeping you warm. Whitetail hunting is pretty much a stationary sport, and so, but you have to get to that stance, or you're exerting energy and you know, you're perspiring and you're very active getting in there, and then particularly climbing your tree, you're carrying gear, you're hoisting your bow up, and so you're going to perspire. Then you're going to bundle up, and so once you settle in, whether you've perspired or whether you have not is really night and day in keeping you warm. Everybody wants to stop the wind 100%, and they want to stop water 100%, and I get it, but if you've done that at the expense of breathability, you haven't gained anything, and the trick is really to get the best of both worlds of insulation with breathability. This is our Zone 7 parka. We founded the program with a small abbreviated line. This was one of the core pieces. So this is a 4-layer garment in the body, and the significance of that 4 layers is a lot of different things, but particularly the 4 layers gives you 3 air chambers between those 4 layers. And so it allows us to create the thermal efficiency of a much heavier coat while still keeping it compact and discreet and functional for, you know, not just colder weather, but, you know, moderate weather as well. So it reduces bulk, increases warmth and increases versatility. We brought this piece out at $180 in 2022, and after 2 tariff changes and a lot of manufacturing increases, we're still at $180 today. It makes its way into my duffel bag no matter where I'm going in on a hunt.
This is still my go-to piece. Yeah, it's simple, effective, and it's just what I always have. I mean, it's getting worn 70 to 80% of the season by me.
Fit, form, and function are critical to closing the deal. We leave nothing to chance, sweat the details, and take those dynamics to an entirely new level. Form, fit, and function is another critical pillar in our arsenal. Fit is extremely important. I need the garment to be as friction-free when I'm walking in the woods. It needs to fit tight, move with me when I'm climbing a tree, when I'm pulling my bow back. But it also has to be loose enough that it's not, encumbering what I'm doing. And so that fit function is critical. At the same time, the function in terms of having access to my equipment. If I need my rangefinder, it's got to be right here. If I need to unzip my pockets and get to equipment on my legs, that pocket has to, the zipper needs to go down, not up, because that's effortless. Having, some of our key features, like we have cuffs on the pocket, which is just an incredible difference maker if you've ever used one. Little things that turn into big things, as we say, are critical, but all those things without making it too complex. I mean, you can go too far on that and end up with overmade, over-engineered, you got too much going on. So we kind of call critical function plus, how it fits, how it moves with you, how it holds your gear, how it provides access to your gear, absolutely critical.
There's a lot of things that I like about the Code of Silence line. There's a lot of great products there, but I also like the people at Code of Silence. It goes back to the founder, Ev Terrell. And I've worked with Ev over the years on other projects. So when he started this, I knew that he was going to be producing really high quality stuff that was functional, affordable, and very well constructed. You go through the line and each piece it just exemplifies those qualities. The cold weather products, they're all fit so that you can move. As a bow hunter, you have to be able to get your bow back. You have to be able to climb. You have to be able to do a lot of physical things. So the apparel has to move with you. And they're all warm. They're designed to be really quiet. And Ev takes feedback from not only people like myself, but also from a lot of his customers. And he's always making the products better. So taking a look at the warmer weather, more moderate conditions products, and you're going to see that those are very thoughtfully designed too. They work with you, they meet the demands of that environment. They're not too warm, but they still blend in, they're still quiet, they still have all the same qualities that make the cold weather products so good. There are also accessory items that fall into the line too, one of which is what I'm wearing right now. And this is just a base layer product, and I love it. I mean, it's a merino for just day-to-day wear. It's probably my favorite sweatshirt that I wear at any time of the season. So products like that are one more thing that I like. And Ev's moving into accessories like the bino harness and other types of products. So keep checking it out. I mean, like I said, every year it gets better. The products get better, the offering gets better, more lifestyle type products in the line. So, as long as they keep making it, I'm going to keep wearing Code of Silence products.
Our value is industry leading. Our goal has always been to provide the most highly technical, highly functioning products we possibly can at prices that people can afford. Our prices may not be the highest in the industry, but head to head, we will perform as well, if not better than anything else out there.
As important as the 4 pillars that we talked about, concealment, thermal efficiency, silence, and fit and form, we wanted to bring it to the consumer at a fair value. I mean, it had to be fair. I look at other garments on the market and I'm like, man, that's high priced. And you know what they have into it, because we're doing the same thing. And they're just not being fair to the consumer who saves his money all year to take vacation and go on hunts, but then he has to overspend on a garment that probably underperforms or isn't perfect. So I mean, that was one of the pillars we had. We had to be fair, and it had to be the right price and make sense to everybody.
You know, but value doesn't come easy. You know, value starts at you know, our kind of, you know, direct approach. We call it direct to hunt. We design our own camouflages. We design our own fabrics. We work with the fabric mills directly. We design our own garments. We work with the direct to the factory. There are no middlemen in our business, and so that supply chain is as efficient as you can possibly get to, you know, keep the costs down. And I mean, internally we're negotiating with the freight companies, we're negotiating with the marketing companies, we're negotiating with everything to try to keep the price down so we can pass on, you know, a great price to the consumer. And that's, again, that's who we are. But that, what we call direct to hunt value, it's achievable if you roll up your sleeves and start at that, you know, that core granular side of every side of the supply chain, and then when you get it done at that lowest price possible, that you pass that on.
Why should people buy Code of Silence? It's a product that is an absolute game changer. I mean, if you look at our 4 pillars and what we've done and all the little things we've done to make these products perfect and be an, you know, I've said it multiple times, an asset to the hunt, not just you know, I got to have camo on, I'll just settle for this. You know, you spend top dollar on your bow and all your other equipment, and we made a product that will be a benefit to you at a fair price and a value, and we're proud of it.
Yeah, we're going to do right for what works in the woods. We're not going to, you know, take the easy path and make camouflage look cool, because, you know, that gets you more notoriety or more, you know, you stand out in a hunting camp, look like you have the latest greatest. We want you to stand out in a hunting camp because you got a set of antlers in your hands and going, this is a real deal. We're always going to be the real deal.
When we check in on where the Code of Silence brand sits today, you know, we're really humbled and I guess just very excited about not only the level of products we have created, but the breadth of products we've created. You know, we founded the line on a few select, you know, kind of cold weather pieces, but we've extended that into now lightweight base layers with our Fairwinds base layer systems. We have our new Fairwinds Tech and High Loft series and kind of the mid-weight outerwear side. We have still our core Zone 7, our dialed in cold weather product. Now our new Cold Fall 2.0 Sub Extreme, which is probably the most thermally effective cold weather hunting system ever created. We have our new Riverwolf system, which takes merino into, you know, merino fleece into outerwear and probably represents one of the most technical approaches to whitetail bow hunting that's ever been created. We have new packs, which are extremely innovative and functional, bino harnesses, a huge line of accessories, and a lot of one-offs that are yet to be announced. But it's really one of the most comprehensive approaches to technical bow hunting clothing and bow hunting gear that's ever been offered. So really proud of that, but I think we're just as much, if not more, proud of the value that we've been able to offer this level of gear at. You know, we work really hard at you know, taking out the middleman and designing our own fabrics, designing our own clothing, designing our own camouflage. We work directly with all the supply chains to create the best prices we possibly can. We pass that on to the consumer. And when we get a note that says, I can't believe I can buy this level of clothing at these prices, you know, it's really humbling. It's really what we got in the business for. So we're really proud to support people that support us, and we're going to keep on doing it.
Save $50 on any purchase of $250 or more when you use promo code GET50OFF. But hurry, this offer is for a limited time only. Save $50 on any purchase of $250 or more when you use promo code GET50OFF. But hurry, this offer is for a limited time only. Save $50 on any purchase of $250 or more when you use promo code GET50OFF. But hurry, this offer is for a limited time only. Save $50 on any purchase of $250 or more when you use promo code GET50OFF. But hurry, this offer is for a limited time only. Save $50 on any purchase of $250 or more when you use promo code GET50OFF. But hurry, this offer is for a limited time only.